Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Drink and Spill with Nelly, the dark side of business. And today's topic, one of the almost one that almost everyone talk about in the hiring system. And we want to talk about, is the hiring system broken and how can we fix it? Because whether you're job hunting or you're doing the hiring, chances are you felt frustration, confusion, or even injustice somewhere along the line. Maybe you're a HR executive trying to make the right hire with limited time and tons of pressure, or maybe you're a job seeker who's been ghosted after multiple interviews and wondering what the hell happened. So today we're bringing both sides to the table. And most importantly, can we fix the system or are we just navigating it the best way we can? I have three wonderful guests with me today. Udwak Orok, she's a seasoned HR professional. We have Anayo Onoha, HR professional and hosts the Meet Point podcast. And we have Barbara James, who is a project coordinator. Welcome, guys. Welcome to Drink and Spill with Nelly. It's great having you here.
Thank you, Nelly, for having us, for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So, Udwak, what would you say is the biggest challenges HR face when trying to hire the right person today?
Um, I cannot use one word to say it's the biggest challenge because there are several challenges that occur when trying to hire the right candidates. Some of them could be time factor. Sometimes em- employers would require you to hire, a particular skill set in a very short amount of time.
Hmm.
And you try your very best, you put out the ad in the marketplace and you get people to indicate interest and send in their CV.
Hmm.
Sometimes they even come for interview, and at the end of the day they do not meet up to your client's expectations,
Hmm.
and your client can says they need you to find more people to be interviewed within another short space of time. So
Hmm.
time factor will be one of the biggest challenges for recruiters, people who are specifically recruiters in the industry. Then secondly,
Okay.
AI is now becoming a challenge in
Hmm.
the industry. Yes,
Okay.
because you can create the most fantastic CV, but have zero knowledge of the role,
Oh,
and
I see.
you would bypass all the ATS, you understand, application tracking system, and get to the point of interview. Then
Hmm.
when the interviewer starts questioning you for the role, the technicalities of the role, and you know the know-how of the role, and you're lost and you're saying something that is off the question,
Hmm.
you're not able to defend that CV.
Hmm.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
The test to be given to you to pass, and you can't even perform.
Hmm.
So the hiring manager will be so confused and distraught, like all the stress I had to go through for you to get to this point, and your CV kicks all the box, but yet you can't defend it. That
Yeah.
can be very frustrating for any hiring manager. So
Hmm.
those are one of the few challenges that we experience as
HR
as
professionals.
job professionals,
So
yes, in
are
the
you
industry.
saying that AI is more beneficial to job seekers than recruiters?
Well, I will not, that would be too say being conclusive with such a statement won't be, I don't think that would be right,
Okay.
because it has its benefits on both sides. Do you
Okay.
understand?
Okay.
But this is just one of the disadvantages. Do you
Okay.
understand
Hmm.
that anybody from anywhere could create a fantastic CV for a role that he or she doesn't have any knowledge in,
Experience. Hmm.
and all because maybe they've been told that you could have the faith, you
Hmm.
try it, you just have to attempt it first before you know if it's possible. If you
Hmm.
could get it, if you could get
Yeah.
the job,
Yeah. I do get you.
use AI to create a CV that's
AI is making
you know
everyone perfect.
get making everything perfect so that it will kick,
Yeah.
like tick the box for
Hmm.
the application tracking system and get to the interviewer's point, and yet
Okay.
they can't defend it. So that's a very frustrating point, aspect for many recruiters, like very frustrating. So
Okay.
I just believe that every job seeker should just try to be honest in their skills and the JDs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So, Mr. Anoyo, do you how much do personal biases or gut feelings influence hiring decisions, even with systems in place?
I will be a liar if I say that those things don't happen. So that's
Okay.
why we are human,
Okay.
right? Um, there is always that place for sentiment. There's always that place for personal bias and
Hmm.
gut feeling.
Okay.
Um, it works sometimes basically because I'll be very truthful about it, right?
Okay.
Sometimes as a recruiter, especially if you have, you know, done this job for like a good number of years and you've done it at a very large volume, you
Hmm.
can likely predict, you can likely predict outcomes sometimes. Now, if machines or if systems can do that, why can't a human do that?
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes your gut feeling based on your experience in time past can just make you
Okay.
predict that this candidate, right? And yes, it goes sometimes to influence decision, but the most important thing is when you are going to, I'll use the word, buy a talent into your organization. If you don't have clear, spell out goals or competency framework that you are looking for, then your bias easily takes charge. But
Hmm.
when you have a clear competency framework that you can use to benchmark your decisions through an interview process, it helps to solve the place of bias. So clearly, you can now make decisions based on data. You can make decisions based on clear data that and say, you know what, this is the right candidate based on these competencies that we've set before now. So yeah, that's the only way we can mitigate that. But let's
Okay.
keep that aside. Definitely the human sentiment, the human personal bias,
Okay.
and maybe you can call it gut feeling. Gut feeling just to make it sound nice, but anyway, it's bias anyway. So that's the only way to fight that when there's a clear spelled out goal or competency framework that you can use, proud to even the interview, you know that this is what you are looking out for. So that helps you not to make decisions based on how you feel, but based on what the data is saying.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Nair. So, Barbara, what would you describe as your worst job application experience? We have HR professionals here, so it would be good to balance the conversation, like from your experience seeking for job opportunities. What's been like your horrible experience with the application processes?
Oh, okay, yeah. Um, the worst one I had was earlier this year, and it was this bad because I had high expectations, right from the introductory call and every other process that followed afterwards. And then I had like about 3 rounds of interviews. I even had to complete a task that's took a few days to submit. That's just them making their round checks to be sure, okay, I'm properly qualified.
Mm.
And then after completing that task, they responded, oh, great, we're going to get back, get back, keep in touch and all of that. And then after that, it was complete silence. I waited 3 days and nothing, one
Mm.
week, nothing. And I had to reach out and there was no response. Already the morale was already dwindling. And then after an extra week, I reached out again, and that's when I got a response that sorry, we are no longer continuing with the process. Not like they got someone better, because I've had interviews that at the end I get responses like, oh, sorry, we found someone, better, but that we're going
Yeah.
to keep your resume, and peradventure we have a role where we would like you to fit in, would reach out to you. But this one said they were no longer hiring. After a month or two passed, and I saw that same job application being put up again, I was like, no,
Oh,
this I
that's
can't waste my time.
dishonest.
Yeah, I can't do that again. So that for me was the worst one so far.
Oh, okay. So, Udwa, do you like? I know you're a HR professional, but I know sometimes HR professionals to look out for um better job openings to, add more value to organizations as HR professionals. So would you say this is, in your experience, like the company is just deliberately using this system to fish out guys? Like you to what's been your experience, applying for HR positions in certain, organizations? So you just heard what Barbara said, and you can see that, okay, the organization was being dishonest after putting her through like various processes. So, what's your take on this? What's your own experience as a HR professional, also a job seeker at some point?
Okay, so I've not had so many experiences as a job seeker. Most of what I've had is just as Barbara has said. I put up for a role. I applied for a role, and the response I got was, "Thank you. We will get back to you. We've gotten someone that is more fitted for this role." And after like 2 or 3 months, I still saw the role again. You know, I still saw the role put up. I think it's mostly done with foreign remote companies.
Yeah.
Foreign companies, yeah, they do that a lot. I can't say what is the ideology behind that, but it would just be better to just say, or let's assume, okay, let me even assume that maybe they got someone for the role, and maybe the person at the end of the day started the job and did not fit in, and they
Mm.
had to terminate the person. I'm just trying to be
Mm,
very open-minded here.
yeah.
So since it was not immediately put up, it took maybe like 2-3 months for the role to be advertised again. So
Hmm.
I'm just using that as an example because I've had I have a friend that is a HR professional. She works remotely, and she
Okay.
has given such instances where people have been applied, people have been given jobs, and they didn't perform in a short
Mm,
space of time, so they have to terminate them and really reopen that role again. So let's
okay.
assume that's the situation. You understand? Let's
Okay.
assume that's the situation why that role was put up 2 to 3 months after. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
I guess that's just the point.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make sense to me if that's what they're doing, because I know that when people apply for roles, there's like top three candidates. So instead of putting up that job placement again, why not, hire the next best two that
Yeah,
they viewed earlier?
well, thank you, Nelly, for that. Truth is, I believe that they already have a database of people that have applied for the role. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Who they send out mails to and said, "Oh, we you did not make it to this stage, or because of so 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 so." So they could have reached out back, maybe to reapply, or just maybe do a test to see if those people could actually fit into the role.
Mm.
Okay.
But well, one cannot explain the ideologies of a lot of companies these days
Hmm.
because every day there's always like a new system in the hiring process, and it's getting much more strenuous and tedious. I don't know, but that's what I believe, that the
Okay.
hiring system is becoming more difficult
Okay.
than it was.
Okay, okay. So Mr. Anayo, why do some great candidates get ghosted after interviews? What really happens behind the scenes?
When you asked the question, I just started laughing. Is there a reason why? Is there a reason why candidates are ghosted? I don't think. Well, from the context of ghosting, yeah, from the context of ghosting, basically, and you are using the word great candidates.
So the truth is, a lot of things go behind the scene, right?
Okay.
A lot of things go behind the scene. There are just some things that play in. For example, yeah, even when Barbara was giving like her experience, which I think is not really a good one. But however, being somebody that have like opportunity to be in that mix and know what happens behind the scene, because sometimes many things can happen. To be frank, you can literally be on an interview process and maybe these are organizations, especially organizations that are not very well structured, right?
Yeah.
And there's just, I don't want to use the word order, but there's just one you know discussion, and they said, you know what, let's pause this recruitment.
Hmm.
And sometimes the recruiter, being the recruiter too, will not want to just ditch everybody, because he or she will be thinking that maybe they will come back in a week time and say, let's open it up again, so that my
Okay.
candidate will not run away. And the
Okay.
recruiter will want to be just quiet about it, which I think is not the best solution to it. But the truth is, behind the scene, yeah, there are a lot of things that happen that sometimes are not straightforward. They are not things that uh, can really be explained. So sometimes, even when the recruiter wants to communicate, the recruiter will not even tell you the whole truth, because he wouldn't just want to expose his organization
Organization. Yeah.
out there, and he will just look for a generic way to control the situation.
Hmm.
However, communication is important.
Yeah.
uh, Ghosting is really not the best way to go about it.
Yeah, because I'd rather you just tell me we're sorry than just ghost me.
Yeah, that's why you see when you said that, why are they ghosting these guys? Not like there's any reason for it. Secondly, too, right? This is another reason, which again, the reasons I'm giving you are not something that we can brag about to say this is why it's happening and it's justified. It's
Yeah.
not justified, all right? So ghosting is never justified. Not communicating back is never justified in any
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So sometimes these recruiters may just be working on large volumes of hiring needs,
Okay.
and as they are working on this, they are also working on this, they are also working on that, and they are also working on
A
this.
lot of things.
You get the point. So
Yeah.
within all those things, they miss out on some of these details, especially when they are working where they don't have systems,
Hmm.
especially software tools that can
Yeah.
help with these
Streamline
things.
processes.
Exactly. When you work with software tools like your ATS and HRIS, some of these communications are automated. So you probably not be the one to literally engage the candidates. But once as a candidate is not successful, there's an automated message that goes to that candidate to say, oh, you have not been successful, we are not moving you to the next stage. And when you are successful, there's an automated message that goes to that candidate to say, you are successful, we're moving you to the next stage. So organizations that have those kind of resources, you see them communicate better uh, within hiring processes. But when you're working somewhere where those kind of systems are not in place, and you have large volumes of hiring needs that you are catering for, there is just that
Yeah.
likelihood that some candidates will just fall off the pipeline without you properly communicating. Then again, I
Hmm.
repeat myself, there's no excuse for it. This is me just giving you what happens behind the
And the
scene, just
same.
like you asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that why some recruiters just prefer to be headhunters? Because it's like reduces the the overwhelm of dealing with lots of candidates.
Exactly. So you get, so this is why we see people, especially much like 2 3 years, we started seeing that rise of people we call sourcers, right? Or you can call
Mm.
them headhunters, where their job is just to get candidates, profiles, CVs, and they move it to the next person who do all the engagement and all throughout the hiring process. Yeah.
Okay.
So these are like, especially when they work in places where there's always something that they're working on. If they're not working on this role today, they're working on this one tomorrow, they're
Another.
working on this one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So this kind of situation can just make them miss out on. Then again, like I said, if they don't have software tools that can help automate this process, because if there's a software tool, if there's an ATS, it is as easy as ABC,
Easier.
right? You don't necessarily need to start keeping up with this candidate. All you need to do is, as candidates are being moved from one bucket to another, there is an automated email that communicates each to these candidates their standpoint, if they are successful or if they are not
Yes.
successful, what happened next. So that email is automated, so it just goes to the email, and they are well informed about situations around the hiring process. So
Yeah.
with those systems, that problems or the problem is solved. But when you have an organizations where those systems are not made readily available for these recruiters, you see that they have to be doing those things by themselves. Then
Mm.
again, I said, when they now have like a lot of things that they are trying to sort at the same time, a lot of hiring needs that they are trying to close, you now see that they miss out on some of these details, trying to communicate back and all that stuff. And finally, and as I've been mentioning from when the question came up, there's still no excuse for ghosting. Right? It's wrong and it shouldn't be done.
Yes, it shouldn't be done. To me, I used to see ghosting as like, it's more about these people. They don't have structure. If any company ghosts me, they are not even good to work with in the first place. Shows how shitty their structure is. So that's just my opinion anyway. So Barbara, do you think that job recruiters favor certain kind of people or personalities? Say, oh, you have to be active on LinkedIn to be able to be seen by recruiters, to be favored to get the
Mm.
job and all that.
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately it does, because I feel like it often favors people that are more outgoing, just like you said. You are active on social media, you are posting on your LinkedIn account is running wild and free, which still takes us back to what Udwak mentioned about the AI, right?
Yeah.
Your entire LinkedIn profile could be filled with posts that are tailored thanks to AI.
Hmm.
Even your photos were created using AI. And we've gotten to that stage in life where AI photos, no AI created pictures or videos are looking so real. It's very hard to tell them apart. So
Yeah.
now I've had this experience actually. Yeah, I think I even told you about it, right? Earlier this year too. So this year has been a shitty year of hiring processes. So now you want me to come in as a project coordinator. I am back end, like I am running my magic behind the scenes. I
Yeah.
literally have nothing to do with social media. And then you are not asking for my media handles to run a background check on me if I'm someone who probably talks vaguely or uses vulgar terms or just enjoys, unnecessary attention, right? You just want me to be a professional through and through. That's not
Yeah.
what you're asking. Now, these people were requesting for my socials, and they're like, you're not posting frequently on social on LinkedIn, your Facebook too, you're not posting frequently. How are you going to grow engagement? And I'm like, excuse you, what's my business with growing engagement? So yes, it does sideline certain people, although sometimes it might not be intentional, but I feel like they don't make it, there's no soft landing for all candidates. So
Hmm.
it's about packaging and aura. Meanwhile, the container is absolutely empty. So I feel like
Hmm.
yes, it's sort of designed to favor certain groups or personalities, and to me,
Hmm.
that's not right. Let's have it balanced. I have a friend who is an extreme introvert, but she's so brainy and she delivers. This kind of person that when you explain the task or her deliverables to her, she just goes to her desk and does it. Whether it's remote, on-site or hybrid, she delivers. That's the what that's what I'm saying, that she delivers.
Hmm.
You're barely going to have struggles with her.
Hmm.
But during the interview process, it's always an issue. They feel like, this one you're talking so it's like you're picking or choosing your words. You are so calm. Are you sure you can deliver? So yes, it does. It does feel like it's designed to favor certain groups or personalities. That's from my own experience, by
Okay.
the way.
So, Uduak, what do you think about this? Do great HR professionals actually look at the packaging of the candidates before considering them to be great fits?
Well, Barbara is not wrong. That's because we are in the age where you have to bring out your skills or say showcase yourself on the net,
Yeah.
you know. And sometimes we make mistakes from that because just as she has said, there are some persons that are extremely good, but they are just back end.
Yeah.
I have to force personally, I had to force myself to start posting on LinkedIn because you go for a lot of events and people keep telling you that you can't be seen, you can't be, you can't be valued if you're
Yeah.
not in front, if you're not showing
Mhm.
up, if you're not showing the world that you have this. And people that know how to perform all the shenanigans and all the social media charades and all that, they do it perfectly. People like us that we're just good behind the scenes, it's now a very big struggle, very big challenge. And
Mm.
even in interviews, from my experience, you see some persons that are very bold, they're very outspoken, they know how to present themselves very well, but give them the job and they flop. Then there's some
Ah,
persons that, yes, then there's some persons that they are not so confident about themselves, but from experience, just listening to them, you believe that okay, these persons could learn on the job, and you realize that they perform better.
yes.
So we've taken boldness sometimes out of context because
Hmm.
these days, a lot of people that are extremely bold, trust me, on the net, they are really empty if you give them the skills, if you give them the job role. But that doesn't totally negate the fact that people that are actually bold are also competent.
Yeah.
But we have to test the skills before
Yeah.
we can conclude, and we should not be biased and completely sideline those who are not very outspoken. Do you
Hmm.
understand that they
Yeah.
cannot deliver? We have to first give them the role, test the skills, test their ability, and then give them a opportunity to perform
Okay.
before we
This makes
conclude.
me, yeah, this reminds me of a post someone made on LinkedIn. This is like he's a top LinkedIn creator. He said that he was interviewing some candidates, and one of the candidates is a top LinkedIn creator as well. So when he saw this guy, he was like, I used to engage with your posts, I used to follow your posts. Like the guy was excited that see, I'm not going to interview any other person. This is the guy. So he now started interviewing this guy and realized that this guy did not know anything.
Mhm.
And I was like, what have you been posting on your
Sorry.
LinkedIn? Because you're like a thought leader. It's he was
Yeah,
embarrassed because he's like these other people he had to like sideline them. He felt like, oh, this person has been posting thought leadership around marketing, so this guy is a very good marketing executive. But give this guy scenario questions and all that, he couldn't even answer Jack. So he was talking about
wow,
this to
that's
like
serious.
tell recruiters that most times what you see on LinkedIn is different from what the person can deliver because you go on the net, use AI, put your content together, and then everybody, oh, we're a thought leader. Now there are questions that people that even post on LinkedIn, are they actually even thought leaders? Or everybody just wants to like wear the cape of quote leaders
Mm.
quotes and all that. So, so yeah, I agree with you totally. So we don't have to like look at the fact that okay, somebody is like in their shell or they are not so
Mm.
outspoken, and then most times the people that don't talk much, they're the ones that are doing the great job. So
Yeah.
yeah, so we have like less than 5 minutes to conclude. So, Mr. Anayo, in 1 or 2 minutes, do you think that the hiring system is broken, and what would you advise can fix it?
I don't think the hiring system is broken. I don't think so. I think that would be that would be a very serious generalization,
Okay.
right? I think it is based on organizations and the people handling the hiring system,
Okay.
right? Um, there are organizations that have, very clear spare out hiring process
Okay.
that when you engage with them, you will definitely come out, whether successful or not, you definitely come out enjoying the process flow,
Okay.
right? Why there are some organizations that not just carrying out a proper hiring process. So I wouldn't say the system is broken. It's not broken. It depends on organizations and individuals carrying out those processes. All
Mm,
right. So then again, there's room for much development. With the coming of AI, I think it can only get better. It's getting better already.
mm,
Now they are AI assisted um, agents that recruiters can make use of,
yeah.
especially in the place of giving feedback, communications. They are all AI tools where recruiters can use to always be able to engage with candidates. Candidates can, ask questions,
Mm,
and these AI agents can be able to answer them, right? So
okay.
those things bridge the gap that we've been having over the years in the place of communication, in the place of engaging candidates. So yeah, it's definitely getting better with the coming of AI
Okay.
and AI solving some critical aspects
Okay.
in these processes, making the processes seamless,
Mm,
making it better, and also helping us to keep away bias because now we are dealing more with data decision making
yeah.
instead of just sentiment and bias that we
Mm,
used to do in the traditional era. So it's getting better and it's getting bigger and richer. So yeah, so
okay.
that's my take on that.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Nair. So, Barbara, in 1 minute, what would be your advice to recruiters? Like, what do you think they can do better?
Uh, okay. So for me, I feel like the hiring process should be tailored to you know, look at both sides of the rails. And when we're talking about if it was designed to favor a certain group of people, it just stuck with me while we're trying to conclude that even educational background does affect that. Okay.
Mm,
If you want to hire a person for a role and the person tells you he went to one university in Michigan and then there's me who went to Unical, I'm sure your preference line falls first to the person who schooled in the US
yeah.
than me who schooled here in Nigeria and particularly in Unical. So
Mm,
they need to look at our competence level too, and
okay.
then allow some people learn on the job. My first and the most gracious and beautiful job I've ever had, I learned on the job.
Mm,
And that has sort of molded me to whatever it is I am today. I would always be grateful for that experience. So
okay.
let the recruiters, the organizations, let's just let some people learn on the job. And then finally, please, your job description should actually be the same, should tally with what we come to meet on the table. You can't expect me to, you hire me for the job of a coordinator, a project coordinator, and then I'm coming in to serve as a manager. I'm coming in to serve as even your PR, there's
Mm,
the PR person. I'm coming in to serve as a social media coordinator or manager. There's so much. So please, let's also keep that in mind. Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you. So we have like less than 1 minute. I really wanted to ask Udwak a question. Udwak, if you can answer in 30 seconds. So I just need like one advice you would give to job seekers.
Okay, so one advice is please be honest. You can bring out the best skills you have and redefine them even with HR, in all honesty, to fit into the role you are seeking to transition to.
Okay.
And oh, you don't need to fake it to make it.
Mm,
And just as Barbara has said, some companies are willing to train any employee, that are coming in. All they just need to see is your proactiveness and that you're ready to learn and grow, and they're very much available to train you. So that's it. Just be honest in your job application.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming on board. This was really, really insightful. Anyway, do have a great day, and I believe that our viewers, our listeners have learned a lot from this. Thank you so much, guys.